All right, so we are going to get started with our Lammas monologue. To start, we have our lovely Lady Belladonna Lavo, who's going to tell us about Lammas and why we're here. So, without further ado, I present Lady Belladonna Lavo.
So am I in the right place? I can see.
You sure are.
Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad to be here. I have forgotten what it's like to project. It is so exciting to have our first in-person event after the wonderful and unique break that we had, right? So this is the last step on my tour. Just got back from a 30-day tour. I'm going to give you the short version, okay? Okay, vote.
Right.
Vote!
Right.
Vote!
Yes.
Can I get a hand on who's going to vote?
Yep.
The Canadians don't have to, but everybody else.
No, Canadians have to vote too.
Okay, all right.
Hey, I
Everybody's
sent in my
committed.
primary ballot.
I know you do, but you're American. You just are Canadian by injection. Okay, so the other thing that I need you to do is I need you to run for office. Okay? Like that might sound like a big deal. But if you go to runforsomething.net, you too, runforsomething.net, runforsomething.net, and you put in your zip code, it will give you a list. And I mean, like, this zip code has 67 open positions in the government. Uncontested, open seats. Some of them come with salaries where you can be at the table and make a difference. We have been the weird old lady at the end of the street. We've been the house that the kids walk around. You know, we have notoriously avoided being involved for a variety of reasons. But the interesting thing about the world today is that while there's some very loud people saying some very unpagan Christian things, right? And we're like, oh my God, how did our world get here? They like it. That's what they want. This has been a long-term plan to move the government more towards Christian ideals and values. So I need you to be an educated voter and vote for the values that are important to you. Don't just listen to rhetoric. Don't listen to a bunch of opinions. Get the facts and vote for things that support your worldview. Okay? And then get a seat at the table. I had public office. Who knew that I had a public office? I was on the school board in Conyers, Georgia. Do you know how I got that public office? So I spent a ton of money on campaign fees. No. A guy came out from the back of the room during a PTA meeting and said, we had 3 open spots on the school board. Who will do it? And I was the only person that raised my hand. There were 2 open spots still when I ended up moving to out here to be archpriestess. So be on the school board, be on something small and local, get on something bigger, find something that you want to be a part of. Do you know that Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert got into the U.S. Senate, Congress unopposed? And Boebert doesn't even have a GED. You need no educational requirements to do this, you guys. So if you don't have the time in your life, please spread the word to other people. Runforsomething.net. The world needs our opinion. And we're not going to create the world we want by sitting back and letting everybody else do it. Okay? So, thank you. Thank you. The other thing is talking about the Holy City. Y'all all know about the Holy City, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't even have to go into that. Y'all have been there yourselves. The Lammas Monologues are the audition for the festivals that we have coming up. We do Hecate Sickle Festival and Spring Mysteries Festival. So by watching how you invoke your costuming, the way you present yourself, the way you project, all of these things that make you a qualified person to be in the um, festival presentations that we do at the Mother Church. That's what we're looking for. But more than that, the gods dump their blessings onto us every day. Sometimes we don't notice it. Sometimes they're very small things. Sometimes they're big things. And through their blessings, we become who we are on the planet. With the opportunities that they give us and our taking advantage of those opportunities, we have unlimited potential of what we do with our lives. Some of us do, home stuff. Some of us do government stuff. Some of us work out in the public. Some of us are self-employed. We all have the gamut of the things that we do. And this honors the deities. Lammas is in Leo, which Leos are a little bit flamboyant and they like to show off what they've accomplished.
Ching, ching, ching goes the money tree. It's
Ching,
11,
ching, ching
11
goes the
a.m.
money tree. It's 11:11. Everybody make a wish for a better world. Great Mother, help us get pagans in office so we can make a better world for you. Thank you. So, what you're doing today as an invocation and a presentation of the gods is to express to them what you have done with the gifts that have been given to you. Just like when your kids come home and they go, look what I did, you helped me with my homework and I made an A. Same kind of thing, same kind of thing. So while we are also looking for people to be in the mysteries, your presentation today honors the gods in and of itself and is a sacred expression of worship. So thank you, everybody who participates this weekend. We are grateful for you, and we look forward to seeing how amazing you are. So I call the gods who would hear us pray. All of the gods of those who are here today, everyone please call out to your deity. I want to hear their names.
Aries,
Athena.
Inanna, Loki, Ereshkigal,
Hecate, Pan,
Lakshmi.
and all those in between. We ask of you to watch over today and to look upon us with pride, to see our sacred expressions, and to accept our offerings as worship. We call to the earth, the fire, the water, and the air to witness our rights and to be with us today. The entire property is our circle, and we will move freely about it. Thank you for being with us and blessing us with sacred space. So mote it be.
So mote it be.
And so now it is my extremely honorable opportunity to get to present to you one of the Sorori Fortuna, Agatha Damos.
Well, welcome everyone. It is wonderful to be back in person, to be able to look at each one of you eye to eye, and to present for you several monologues over the course of this weekend from the varying goddesses, gods, energy forms, and so on. We will begin today's set with one that many are familiar with, that we even had one of our wonderful festivals for a few years ago, maybe a bit more than a few. I welcome to the stage the Lady Carador.
Good day, gentlefolk. You are on a precipice, the edge of the cauldron. Do you skitter back away in fear and stagnation? Or do you jump, swan dive, or belly flop into the cauldron of knowledge, into my cauldron of transformation. I am here for you in your transformation.
Thank you, my lady. I do love that cauldron. We will follow the lady with a rather powerful lord that I believe all of you are familiar with. He's made a name for himself in some of the more popular media choices these days, but he nevertheless has his own tales to tell. I welcome to the stage Thor.
What's up, fuckers? So, I felt that it was right, given that the last time that I had presented, that we discussed how we're in very tribulating times. So I figured that the best way to express that to all of you is to tell you the story of my time visiting the Utgard Loki. Now I remember upon entering that hall being made to feel so small and being made to feel inferior, which obviously I don't like. But nonetheless, the challenges that I was given, I faced them with the most courage that I could possibly muster. I remember having to drink from the horn and being unable to get even the slightest amount, no matter how much I mustered. I remember trying to lift up the cat only to have it turn to putty in my hands as I lifted it above my head and was only able to get one paw off the ground. And I remember having to fight off the old woman, Ellie, who managed to get me down on one knee, whereas I was unable to even sway her a bit. And yet, the Jotuns, Utgard Loki, told me that I had done enough and that I was free to sup with them along with my retinue. And the next day, upon leaving the hall, Utgard Loki told me that it was actually a trick all along and that I had actually passed every single test that I had been faced. Although I did not realize it. I thought that I was failing each time, and yet, in some small way, I passed. I was unable to enter the Utgard Hall again because of that fact. So, as a reminder to all of you, no matter how small your feats are, your accomplishments are great. Remember that. Thank you.
Thank you, mighty Thor. Success is interesting, isn't it? I am a divine serpent of fortune. Pretty things, baubles, to when you think of success, fame, fortune. However, it can be so much more than that. Personal things, internal things even. There is someone here who I believe knows quite a bit about that. We follow on with the lovely Nike.
Yay, it's my turn! Oh my god, I had to wait forever! All right. Who in here are my victors? Who in here are my victors? Me! Why didn't I not see every hand up? Come on, I want you to put your hands up. Okay, now victory, it's not what you think. Everybody thinks it's all about winning the race and coming in first. And they forget. They forget about the little things. Sometimes victory is just being able to get out of bed. And that's okay, because that's a victory, right? And sometimes victories are overcoming the really hard things in life and being able to stand back up on your feet and say, I went through that and I did it. And it was rough, but I learned and I grew and I'm stronger for it. So remember that, because you're all victors in my book, and whenever you feel like you're being defeated, just call on me, because that's what I'm here for. I'm here because we are the champions, guys. We're all champions. And when you think the person next to you is fallen, reach out your hand. Say, is there something I can do to help you? Is there something I can do to lift you up? Because we can be champions together, right? So remember that, because the more people you lift out your hand to and help up, the more champions we have in this world. Because we all don't like to feel defeated. I know I don't like feeling defeated. I don't like it at all. Now, I have something very special. Did you guys know that my bestie is having a birthday? My bestie's having a birthday. And, you know, it's one of us to go around the sun. It's like a blink. But even though, I still want to give her honor for having a birthday. So, I would like to call my bestie in the whole wide world and the universe, Athena.
Athena!
With this very lovely woven, not the skills of Arachne, but you know, it's close. They try these printed things these days. And the crown of victory, because to me, you're my victory. And my bestie. So remember, we're all victorious, and I want to see those hands raised every time somebody asks you.
Hello, my friends. You may know me in many ways as the goddess of cities and the goddess of war. And many of you know of the story in which I was challenged to a contest by a lovely person named Arachne. For I am the goddess of weavers, and she presumed that she could weave better than I. And when she proved herself in a contest, I gave her the gift of showing her weaving forever. But we do not just weave tapestries. We also weave our stories. And in dire times like these, when we face injustice, it is very important for you to know how you weave your story into being. The stories that you share matter because your experiences inform you and help you to weave together your story. And as you weave that story, you bring in the different aspects of yourself and the different parts that make up your experience. As you make your way through your story, you don't just weave your own, but you weave your story with others. And as you share your story, I ask that you think about how you can listen and share your story and listen to that of others, so that you can create a new story, one that isn't focused on doom and peril, but one that is built in hope and will help us through these dire times. How will you weave yours?
Thank you, Lady Athena. Forgot I was here. Athena, they speak of challenge, and I think we can all agree we have gone through some challenges in the last few years. We have persevered. there is another here who knows of such challenges. I welcome to you she who nurtured Jesus of Nazareth, the Mother Mary.
Hi, everyone. So I wanted to let you know that I'm now in the right spot. And I'm also very projective. So, when my really wanted a baby, they made a really strong wish and said, well, if I get pregnant, my baby will be dedicated to spirit all their life. Well, I was a girl. I really do the priesthood, but I was dedicated to spirit. I mean, I got a baby from spirit. And the greatest thing about this baby is that I got to learn how to instill into this being what is good, what is bad. To inject your view upon the world so that everything can become paradise if you work at it. I would really like to instill my energy upon you all so that if you have a goal, something that you really want to birth into being, that you know is going to benefit us all, so that we all can reach paradise, please. Do that, please. Because it kind of sucks out there.
So a little bit about myself. I am known as the Divine Serpent of Fortune. And I am also consort to the Lady Fortuna. Woo! In all of her aspects. I could talk for hours and hours about the shenanigans that my lady can get into. Especially when there's dice, poker chips, cards. Oh, it's her favorite. But I'm simply here to MC. However, our next guest can talk your ear off for days and days, though we've limited him to 5 minutes today. I welcome to the stage the Lord Hermes. We shop at the same store.
By shopping, 5% discount.
Hermes is ruining my tackle. All right, Hermes.
Hermes, they have to hear and see you.
All right.
In my contract.
Throughout history, humans have told one another stories. Stories of good and evil, of great deeds and lost causes, and of the human condition. Stories are how you reach for the gods and how we reach back. Your stories mean everything to us gods, as our stories mean everything to you. So, from one story to another, might I tell you one of my favorites?
Yes, please.
I was but a day old when I set out for the first time. That's where I found the tortoise. I turned it into the very first lyre. That's with white and a night, big difference. As I was playing with my new toy, I happened to come across the field of unattended golden cattle. Being the altruistic person that I am, I couldn't leave these poor, defenseless cattle alone. I did the only responsible thing. I took them with me. And just to make sure that no one could follow us for nefarious purposes, I had them walk backwards to hide their trail, of course. When we got somewhere safe, I was famished. I mean, I was only a day old. I took one, maybe two, and turned them into 12 equal pieces and sacrificed them to the gods as a gift to say thank you for the gifts that I had received. When I was done, I snuck back home, climbed into my little bed, and acted like I was asleep. My mother had none of it. I looked up at her with my big, round, sad little eyes and said, "I'm the baby!" Yep, she didn't buy it. She simply looked at me and said, "The Olympian gods do not take kindly to pranks. I was but a day old and she was already done with my shenanigans." Well, wouldn't you know it, those cattle actually did have an owner, none other than Apollo himself. He rudely shook me awake, grabbed me by my swaddling clothes, and demanded to know what happened to his cattle. I looked up at him with my big, round, pleading eyes and said, "I'm the baby!" Yeah, he too wasn't impressed. He took me straight to Zeus, who thought the whole thing was hysterical. Though he did see potential. And he said if I promised to never lie to the king of the gods again, he would give me the title herald and messenger to the gods. I would bet. Provided, of course, I was willing to give Apollo back his cows first. There. When we got to the place, Apollo took inventory as one wants to do and realized that 48 was in fact small and demanded yet again what happened to his cattle. I proceeded to inform him that I sacrificed them to all 12 of the gods, of course. He was befuddled and retorted, "Now I may not be the god of mathematics, but last I counted, there were only 11. Who's the 12th? I proceeded to elucidate. Correct, dear brother. As of 3 days ago, that was true. But you see, I'm the 12th. He was less than impressed. I grew impatient, and I played my new toy. This did impress him. He was entranced, and he asked and he begged me to teach him how to play. I took a moment and said, "What will you give me for teaching you?" He looked around and said, "You can have my cattle." To which I scoffed. "I already stole them once. Why?" Allegedly. I allegedly stole them once. He then tried to sweeten the deal by giving me his title of God of Shepherds and Herders. Now I was less than impressed. I mean, this was the very first liar. I was not going to let it go for such a low price. That's when he added this lovely caduceus and said we could share the title of God of Medicine. That was my introduction. How I became the first and the 12th. Something along those lines. My story, while wild, is not unique. I, like you, am but a story, shared from one pair of lips to another, never fully finished, yet ever uniquely perfect. A link in a chain that stretches back to antiquity, which connects us all. Oh, I almost forgot. From one story to another, it is my very good honor to meet you, and you may call me Hermes. You've been lovely, all.
I love me some Hermes. I don't know about y'all.
It's still the same day, right? That's a record. We have run some days. It is wonderful, as I said, to be back in person, partially because we are all able, digitally and in person, to enjoy the ambience around us. Beautiful location. It is my honor today to introduce to you a lord of such a manner, a lord of nature. Hernunos.
from the deep forest green. I am Kernunos. I have missed you all in these times that you have been away. I am thankful to see you here today. I am of many names, just as my dear counterpart, the goddess. Unfortunately, not all is celebration. I come before you wounded, just as she has to many of you. You feel her in what you have experienced these past years, as do I. We mirror each other. Thus, you mirror each other as well. There are those that would perhaps abuse the progenitive energy. And sadly, it affects her and I and you. But the progenitive energy is not subjugation. And I want to remind you of this. It is the compassion to reach out to the wounded animal, both across from you and within you. It is empathy. By healing your wounds, you heal another's. You have been through trials and tribulations, yes, but you are here in the now. And that is also mine, as is hers. I encourage you all to care most for yourself and for those closest to you. The ripple that will drop upon the pond of this world will crash upon the shore. I love and am proud of you all. For you are the keepers of the next.
Thank you, my lord. We're coming to the end of today's live performances. We will have more performances later that have been recorded or are live through the technological side of things, not my department. But, as we're all a little tickled in the tummy, ready for a morsel, I welcome to the stage Yukimochi.
Konnichiwa. I am Yukimochi, goddess of agriculture within the island of Japan. My best friend is Amaterasu, our beautiful sun goddess. Hello, dear. Her and her brother Tsukuyomi, the moon god, were inseparable at one time. One day, I asked Amaterasu to come down so that we may have dinner together, for we often shared a meal with one another. Amaterasu is a very busy goddess, as you all know. And so she asked her brother Tsukuyomi, "Dearest brother, go down to Earth, have dinner with Yukimo, tell me how her and her sisters, the other agriculture goddesses, are doing." I prepared a splendid banquet for him. And I kept bringing dishes out and bringing them out and bringing them out, and he wondered, where is all this food coming from? It is delicious. It is wonderful. This is the height of cuisine. And so he followed me behind a rock where I was delivering all of this food from. And he learned of my powers. Now you promise not to laugh? I turn to the west and fish dishes pour from my mouth. I turn to the east, and from my vulva, grain dishes. I turn into another direction, and from my rectum, meat of all different kinds. From my nose, from my ears. You don't think food simply comes out of the ether? You all understand basic physics. You are clever humans. Matter comes from something. It can't just be pulled out. It has to come from somewhere, and it happened to come from me. But Tsukuyomi was disgusted by this display. He grew angry with me. He began to scream in disgust, "Please, no, Tsukuyomi!" Ah! Ah! And he killed me. He stabbed me, and from my body burst forth the world's food. All the world's fish and seafood came from my mouth. From my forehead, cattle and horses came bursting forth. From my body, the rice fields, the sea greens. My inky eyebrows became the silkworms that make your clothing. And Tsukuyomi cleaned his blade, sheathed it, and went back up into the heavens, where Amaterasu waited in fury. You have killed a pacifistic goddess who would never hurt anyone. She was preparing you a meal, dear sister. It was a disgusting display. Life is disgusting. There are going to be things in this world that make you sick to your stomach. There are going to be things in the way you prepare your food that are acts of violence. Even slicing a fruit is violent. You must learn to accept this. Amaterasu cast Tsukuyomi aside, and they have never spoken since but on a few occasions, and even then the skies turn dark when they meet. I ask you now, mortals, to please take a lesson from this. You will encounter things that you do not understand. You will encounter things that make you sick to your stomach at first, and that you will not know what to do with them. I ask you to pause first. Pause and think before you act out of anger or fear or hatred. I am not happy that my sister and her brother, I love her like a sister. I am not happy that Amaterasu and her brother do not speak anymore. I did not want that for them. And I do not want that for you. I ask you all to think before you act so you do not lose one another. Act in love, question, and come from care. Arigatou gozaimasu.
The angels agree. Well, they have their moment. Before we conclude our live performances for the day, we are going to once again welcome Lady Belladonna LaVeaux to the stage.
It's all I can do to not be like, Fortuna! You've heard a lot about stories today, and that is so fitting because Hecate Sickle Festival is about the goddess, the All-Mother Hecate, presenting to us her many faces. And this year she is presenting Gaia herself. At Hecate Sickle Festival, we are going to rebirth the universe. We are going to create a collective vision about the world that we want to live in. We are going to weave our stories together. And through the power of the story and the weaving of Hecate, we are going to rebirth a new universe that is in balance and harmony, that upholds the values that Goddess brings to us. And so we encourage you all to register and make sure that you come and see all of these lovely visions and stories and weave your spells with ours. And together we can create a more beautiful world. Thank you for being here today. Thank you. Thank you, Advocate Damon. Thank you, Brenna. Thank you for all of the people who have put energy into this. Your stories were wonderful and beautiful. We're taking a short break, right?
At 1 o'clock, we'll be back with Bella teaching us how to invoke.
Oh, what? I'll be teaching you